first live class back. Welcome. I'm just going to ask that you take a moment to let your body go heavy. And in doing so, start to elongate your exhale breaths. And really personal preference at this time, if those exhale breaths come out of your nose or out of your mouth. And just take a couple more, really slow, really thoughtful out breaths. And then this kind of next go round, I'm going to invite you to just linger in the pause at the bottom of your exhale breath. So come into kind of the time of in between. And explore that space for one more round. And then just come into a breath that is consistent. Come into a breath that's mindful, but a gentle reminder that in yin yoga, it doesn't necessarily have to be your ujjayi breath. And as this is the first time we've kind of seen each other, we celebrate this space. And in doing so, start to just celebrate the different layers of your body, the different layers of yourself. And over the course of the next two breaths, take a roving body scan from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. And once you're at the soles of your feet, you're going to think of the feet like a second set of lungs, where there's this uptake of energy as you breathe in, and this downtake of energy as you breathe out. And two more rounds where you are. Inhale, soles of feet to top of head. And then exhale from top of head all the way down to the soles of your feet. So for the students that are in the class, they're in their back lying position. For the students that are at home, we too are going to come into our back lying position. And then once you're there, just start to bring a little bit of movement into the most distal of your limbs. So to your toes, to your fingers. And maybe even consider this big Friday evening stretch, getting as long as you can across the front line of your body. Consider letting out an audible sigh or a yawn. Yeah. And then with the arms up and overhead, in time you're going to clasp a hold of the elbows with the palm of the hands. So your arms are in the shape of a rectangle. And we're just going to stay in this stacked position with the head over the heart and the heart over the pelvis. And the focal point is sending the breath into the sideline of the body. So the movement of the rib cage as you breathe. Away from the midline on in-breath. And in towards the midline on the out-breath. One more here. Inhale, full breath into the sideline of the body. And then on the exhale, kind of think of the rib cage like a belt and cinch into the narrowest part to hug into the midline. At this point, we're going to lift the head just slightly to start to hinge the body over to the right side of the mat. So you're going to start to form a C shape. Return the shoulders back to the mat. And then for some of you, if this is enough into the left side body, you stay. But for some of you, you're going to also start to walk your feet over to the right side. So feet onto the same side as the arms. And you're creating space now from your left hip to your left armpit. And just a gentle reminder that yin yoga is the art of listening to your own body. And we stick to the Goldilocks rule. So you feel something, but it's not too much. It's not too little, it's just right. If your body is requesting a new option, you may consider crossing your right leg over your left leg, or even your left leg over your right leg in your C shape in Banana Asana pose. But a lot of times the fascia of the sideline of the body can feel quite restrictive. And we know when it comes to the fascia, it just takes time for it to become the focal point of the practice. Fascia is throughout our whole body. It surrounds the muscles. It surrounds our internal organs. And we're even starting to learn now that fascia is kind of like a nervous system all in itself. So let's just take a couple more breaths here. Breathing all the way from your left hip up to your left armpit. Giving it some gentle nudges as you move into space with each exhale. And one more cycle of breath. Breath is sounding beautiful. Inhale, let's take it really slow to come on back to center. So we're going to start with the torso, lift the head, adjust the shoulders back down, and then gradually start to walk your hand or your feet back to center. Bring your arms by your side. And then please start to bring your left thumb to your left nostril. And 5 cycles of breath in and out through your right nostril only. Feel free to add a retention, a pause at the top of the in-breath, at the valley of the out-breath. Feel free to keep the breath fluid as is, your choice, your preference. Around more. And then free left thumb from left nostril. And inhale, bring the arms up and overhead. Again, clasping a hold of the elbows with the palm of the hands. Switching sides, so as we did with the first side, we're going to lift the head, lift the shoulders slightly, then start to hinge the body over to the left side. And in this journey over to the left side, scan the right side body, scan the muscles that weave through the rib cage, and you add or you take away based on your own Goldilocks rule. So you could stay with the feet, you could start to walk the feet over as well to the left side. And you can just kind of play. Does it feel good to cross your right leg over your left leg? Does it feel good to cross your left leg over your right leg? So the side body is this pivot. It's this obvious pivot from the front body to the back body. And in yin-yang theory, the front body is yin and the back body is yang. So we might start to find that in this season of yang, in this season of summer, doing some yin exercises is balancing for that heat, that movement that we feel is all around us in nature. 5 more slow and thoughtful breaths here into the right sideline of the body. And there's space for silence and there's space for stillness. Complete this exhale breath here. And then we'll gradually make our way back to the midline, starting with the head. That's it. And then the feet will follow. Arms by your side, please. And then this time, right thumb to right nostril, create a seal. And 5 breaths just in and out through the left nostril. Through this cooling side. Through this yin side. This evening you might find that one side feels more dominant than the other side. Just observe that. No judgment, no attachment at all. And then please free the seal of thumb from nostril. And the next time you breathe in, you're going to start to hug your right knee in towards your chest. Left leg is long, or you can bend into your left knee so the sole of your left foot is on the mat. Now, just briefly, I want you to bring your right hand to the outside of your right hip. And you're going to start to trace some circles in space. So you're thinking about the upper leg bone, exploring the socket of the pelvis. And then you can always adjust your right hand back to your knee, but continue these circles, big and broad. And then go ahead and switch the direction of your circles. Again, focus is upper leg bone into the socket of your pelvis. And then inhale, hug your right knee into your chest and just let your lower belly expand on in-breath or rise. And settle on out-breath. Now we'll bring our hands behind the right hamstring. And based on what's going on through this right hamstring, you could keep your knee bent, or very gradually you could start to extend your right leg towards the ceiling. As close to your variation of 90 degrees as is comfortable to you. So a reminder that if your face is kind of making an expression like you've just tasted this really sour lemon, it's too deep, it's too far. So stay comfortable. And then we allow some of the blood to start to drain from our right leg as we open the back chain of our right leg as well. So slow and steady. Just a few more cycles of breath here, right leg up as close to 90 degrees as possible. Let's just circle through the ankle 5 times in one direction. That's the way. And then 5 times in the opposite direction. And then for those practitioners whom have your left leg long, you're going to start to bend into the knee so that you can gradually cross your right leg over your left leg for your back lying figure 4. Please flex your right foot. So toes are coming towards that right knee. And I just kind of want you to sift through your hips a few times side to side. So you're just going to kind of rock. Yeah. Good. It might even feel good to open your arms really wide into a V or a T shape. So your pelvis is mobile, but your shoulder blades are anchored. That's it. And then go ahead and bring your knees back to center. And if this is good for you, you stay. If eye of the needle pose is the next logical place to go, draw your left knee in towards your chest and bring your hands behind your left hamstring. And then again, in the art of listening, you stay or you extend, this time your left leg up to 90 degrees. And I think because the focus of this posture is on the hips, adding a little bit of movement can seem really intuitive. So you might add that kind of shifting action side to side, or even this gentle rolling action forwards and backwards. And we approach every posture like there's no final destination per se. It's just kind of the times of in between, sensation by sensation and breath by breath, even thought by thought. A few more rounds of breath in your eye of the needle pose. Final cycle. And then let's come out of this pose just starting by bringing the sole of your left foot back to the mat. Yeah. And now right leg is going to stay crossed over left leg, but from your figure 4, you're going to come into a back lying eagle pose. So you're really going to cross your right knee over your left knee. Some of you might, in fact, be able to hook your ankle behind the left calf. But let's just play with adding this twist. So as you exhale, shift both of your knees over to the left side. And then inhale, come on back to center. So knees back to the midline. And you're just going to flow through this 3 more times. Exhale, knees to the left side. Lower belly spins to the right side. That's it. And then inhale back to center. Good. Exhale, add that little twist. Gaze wherever is intuitive to you. And then inhale, come back. This time we're setting ourselves up for a deeper, longer, slower hold. So as you exhale, bring both of your knees over to the left side. Yep, good. And then this is twisted roots pose. So the roots are the shoulders. An option to add a little bit of weight with your left hand to your left IT band. And there's no kind of golden rule that you need to gaze anywhere in this pose. So let the gaze kind of be a refinement of how it feels. And then just kind of commit to yourself, creating the most amount of space you can as the breath comes in. And then moving into a new space as the breath flows out. And space could be physical, space could be mental, space could be emotional. Whatever it needs to be for you. As heavy as you can through the shoulders. Five more even cycles of breath. One final cycle, please. To initiate a transition with your body, please start to bring your gaze back to center. And then in some time, the knees will follow. Good. To uncross your right leg from your left leg. And then just windshield wiper the knees side to side a couple of times. Setting ourselves up now for the second side. So personal preference, if your right knee stays bent or if you extend that leg. Good, we're gonna hug our left knee now in towards our chest. A little bit of compression for the left lower digestive system. And then left hand to outside of left hip as this feedback of kind of where we're focused on. And then once you have that muscle memory, you can return your left hand back to the shin. And these circles are like a spatula going around the outside of a bowl. Opposite direction a few times, please. Settle at center for an in-breath, lower belly rises. And settle at center for an out-breath, lower belly falls. Next, adjust your hands to the back line of your left leg. And then take it really, really slow to start to extend your left leg up towards the ceiling. So it's kind of like your hands are meeting your hamstring. They are meeting your hamstring, more specifically the belly of the hamstring or the middle of the muscle, the part of the muscle that extends and contracts. And just try to breathe into that area energetically. Due to lifestyle, the back chain of the body tends to be really short and really tight. Blood is starting to drain, blood is starting to pool. A breath more here. And then 5 circles with your left ankle in one direction. And then in the opposite direction. If at this time your right leg is out, I'm going to ask that you slip it in so that you can cross your left leg over your right leg for your back lying figure 4 position. Flex the toes. And then eye of the needle pose. So right knee is hugging into chest as your hands wrap behind. And if you'd like to start to just sift through your hips side to side or front and back, do so. Be as creative as you can. An option to extend your right leg up. And the hips are this site that we could honestly target every practice. And every practice, there's feedback to feel and to follow, to be a part of. A thoughtful release, so sole of right foot meets the mat below. And then we close off this stance. So we're shifting from your figure 4 into your back lying eagle pose with or without the hook. Adjust the stance of your arms to be in a T or in a V shape. And then let's just play. On the exhale breath, both of your knees shift over to the right side as your lower belly spins to the left. And inhale, come on back to center. Aiming for 3 in this flowing variation, so exhale. And inhale. Good, and one more time, exhale. Inhale, now your deeper, longer, slower hold. Exhale, both of your knees over to the right side. Perhaps bring your right hand to your left IT band. and refine the gaze based on the feedback of this pose for you. Refine the gaze based on the experience of the now for you. And this gentle reminder that you steady the breath and you create as much space as you can on the in-breath. And you move into space on the out-breath with the most amount of ease, with the least amount of effort. Five more cycles in your twisted root pose. That's the way. One last round of breath here. And then gaze leads and the knees will follow to come back to center. Please uncross left leg from right leg, and kind of any sort of movement goes side to side or front and back. And then together we're all going to hug our knees in towards our chest. And a couple of times just rock and roll through the spine to massage it out. And then as playful as you can be with your approach to rocking horse all the way up to seated. Nice. Good. And then once you're there, we're going to gear up for a forward fold. So if you have a block or a bolster, you can use it. If not, it's okay. So we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And in yin, we can create quite a big distance. So quite a big distance from the heels to the pelvis. Good. And then maybe hands to the soles of the feet, and you're just going to press into the soles of the feet a couple of times. Give yourself a little bit of a foot massage. Yeah. So as you start to exhale breath, use the front line of your hips to add this forward fold. And then in yin yoga, we can start to round the spine. So you can tuck the chin and kind of think of yourself as making this really safe shell into the back line of your body. Please start to just think about breathing into the shoulder blades, breathing into the shadow side of the heart. So it's like you're bringing the shoulder blades closer to the back wall. And you're allowing gravity to be the force to bring the knees down. But then you're using the inhale breath to create space across the front line of your hips. And then try to notice your train of thoughts at this time. And try to notice if there's some place in your body where there feels to be some either resistance or some restriction. And there's a theory in yoga, there's a theory in Taoist philosophy and kind of Eastern martial arts that If we're able to bring the mind and if we're able to bring the energetic quality of our breath to that area of resistance, we're able to bring new energy. We're able to create change. And the body is always changing. We are always changing. You might start to feel in this forward fold this kind of relaxed quality to the nervous system. Forward folds are perfect to do in the summertime, as the quality is more cooling. Whereas deeper back bends, we would say it's more balancing to do them in the winter time, as they're really invigorating and warming. So we're going to stay for 10 more breaths in our forward folding butterfly. Final breath here. And then please take it really slow to start to rise up and out of this pose. And close the knees off like a book. So use your hands to bring your knees back to the midline. You might even give the knees a little bit of a squeeze as a counter pose to the hip flexors here. Good. To now extend both of your legs out in front. So we're going to take one more forward fold. This is our caterpillar pose. So if you have a prop, you can always place it across. If not, all good. Let's start to elongate the spine. So really reach the arms up high on in-breath. And again, from the front line of your hips hinge, and your hands kind of land where they land on the out-breath. Good. So in these postures, if you're doing them at home and you have props, you are just kind of being intuitive of bringing the ground up to you instead of feeling like you need to go down to the ground. And as I cued with your forward folding butterfly, focal point is the space between the shoulder blades. Focal point is space into the shadow side of the heart. So just think about your shoulder blades coming further to the back wall. Some gentle compression for the front line of the throat as the chin is tucked. A really deep posture that opens the whole back chain of the body, from calves to hamstrings, and from hamstrings up the tissues that support the spine in an upright position. This encompasses the largest meridian of the body. The urinary bladder meridian of the body. So if you're feeling a lot of effort in this pose, can you shift to more ease? If you feel nothing in this pose, then you're going to add a little bit more something. Breath is consistent, right as you are. And we'll be here for 5 more breaths. Please start to feel and follow just where this next exhale breath takes you. And then as the following breath starts to move in through your body, use that to carefully rise up and out of this pose. Yeah, walk your hands back and just lean back to open the front line of the body in this counter pose. So lift up through the sternum, maybe tilt the chin up towards the ceiling. Heart is lifting, throat is open, face is soft. 3 breaths. That's it. Then walk your hands in and realign your spine. So we're going to set ourselves up for deer pose. So to do that, you're going to bring your right shin across so it's parallel to the top of your mat. Yeah, then put the weight of your body in through your right hip and swing your left leg behind. Good. So left leg is back, sole of right foot is coming to the inseam of your left knee. Yeah, and there's lots of options for deer pose. So for some of you can even feel it already here. So we just start to notice how the right sit bone feels lower than the left sit bone. Yeah. Good. So let's stay nice and tall on this in-breath. And then options for your deer pose. So you can start to walk your hands forwards and take a forward fold. Or another option is you can start to swing the arms over to the right side. And then you could kind of consider this upward facing dog-like action for your deer pose. Or you could even start to come downwards. And so you make that call for you. Your torso could come down. You could also rotate your gaze over. So left cheek on the mat, gaze to the right side. And I know that this pose can kind of feel a little bit awkward, and that's okay. There's a great lesson in just being where you are. In observing what is. So truly being the watchful observer of the self. Is there a point along the way where there feels to be just space or emptiness? potential or possibility. I'll bring you back in just a little while. Allow the breath to come and go for a cycle more here. And then take as much care, take as much consideration as you took to come into this pose as to come out of this pose. So if you're twisting, you're going to start to bring your gaze back to center and rotate your spine back to center. If you're forward folding, walk your hands in. Okay, now the adventure out. So we're going to go heavy through that right hip. Swing your left leg around. And then soles of both of your feet on the mat and windshield wiper side to side a couple of times. Flush the hips out, please. At your own time, I'll ask that you set yourself up for your deer pose on the second side. So start with your left leg, bring your left shin across, as close to parallel to the top edge of the mat. Heavy through your left hip, and then your right foot is going to come behind. Ideally, we have an angle of the ankle and the knee in the same plane, but you could tuck it in or move it away. Yeah. So scan how this side feels for you. Often we're asymmetrical, so we have more mobility, but we also have more tension on one side versus the other side. So take it really slow. Good. And then add your layer. So see if on this side you'd like to kind of start to take your forward fold or to take your rotation. Starting to just call upon the fluid body. The fluid that surrounds our major joints and the fluid that moves throughout our spine. A gentle reminder to make sure that you're using ease in this pose. Gravity in this pose. And there's certainly a mystery in yin yoga, where person to person, the experience of the pose will be very different. Physically, it will feel different. Mentally, our dialogue, practitioner to practitioner, will be very different in these poses. And the maturity of the practice is the amount of time that we're in these poses. the amount of time that we have to just sift with ourself in these poses. And some days it can seem quite easy, and other days it might seem more of a challenge or more of a distraction. And if something is kind of posing to be a distraction, I encourage you just to lean into it, to acknowledge it. And it may go, it may not go. I'll bring you back in about 10 more breaths. That's the way. Final 3, please. Breath comes in and breath goes out. Let it go. And then please gradually start to come up and out of this pose. No hurry to get there at all. Yeah, good. Starting to bring both of your legs forwards, feet to the earth. Our last kind of windshield wiper. And then if you're at home, you can kind of slide your mat to the wall. If you're here, you could slide your mat to the wall. If you have a prop, I'm going to show you what we're kind of ending with before Shavasana. So options. Some sort of an inversion. So both of your legs could be up. You could be using the wall with your legs up the wall. Another option is to slide something underneath your pelvis and then lifting your legs up like so. But we're in a variation of a supported kind of shoulder stand here. And I'll give you some time to set yourself up. That's it. And if your legs are supported, then feel free to bring your arms into a new place. If you're using your hands on your legs for some support, then please make sure your shoulder blades are anchored and heavy. So in a yang practice, after we generate heat, we do shoulder stands to cool the body down, to cool the nervous system down. In the book Light on Yoga, Iyengar talks about a shoulder stand being the queen of asanas. It is the tonic to the parasympathetic nervous system. So hopefully the feet feel a little bit lighter as you spend more time in this pose. And this posture can be really helpful to gain new perspective because we have our feet higher than our head. And in our day-to-day life, we spend a lot of time with our head higher than our feet. If you have kind of the mental constitution where you rev up at nighttime, I encourage you to do this posture. And this might be a nice opportunity to scan the structure of your face. From forehead to eyes, and from eyes to cheeks, and from cheeks to jaw. And just free the hinge joint of the jaw. So depending on how this posture feels for you and where you're situated within the room or at home, you could stay right where you are for Shavasana, for our closing posture. But with that same token, if it would feel good to you to start to come out of this pose, then feel free to do so. And then you can extend your legs out in front of you and settle into your back lying 5-pointed star. If you're on the wall, just stay on the wall and adjust yourself accordingly on your mat. So truly the art of letting go. But also this willingness to try again. There's both a duality and a inter-exchange. And our practice has brought us to this moment. This moment where we can kind of come beyond the boundaries of our body and the boundaries of our own limitations we place on ourselves. And we can then connect to a source that we find exciting. So as we started our class, we explored this space of the valley of the exhale breath. This is what is balancing to the season that we're in. That little bit of contraction in our season of expansion. Please play with that space for a few more rounds here. And if the mind has drifted somewhere else, how human, bring it on back. And once it's within you, move your body, your way, your how from feet to fingers. Ankles to wrists. Perhaps the reset is this big, broad stretch. Personal preference if that entails an audible sigh or a yawn. And then from your back lying position, I'll ask that you gradually make your way up to seated. And it is such a joy to teach to real live people. So thank you. Thank you so much for your practice today. I'm so glad you made it. I know it's a little bit wild with the road. So yeah. So thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the sun. Yeah, you're welcome.